Welcome back! In today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to reharmonize a simple major key chord progression and give it a bright, floaty, almost kind of magical quality using something called the Lydian mode. It's cinematic, it's uplifting, and as always, it's probably way easier than you think. First, we're going to break down what makes the Lydian mode special. Then we will reharmonize a basic chord progression using modal techniques. And then finally, I'll show you how to write some original chord progressions using only Lydian chords. So with that, let's dive in. First off, let's start with a simple C major scale. So to turn any major scale into a Lydian mode, all you got to do is change one note. And that note is the fourth scale degree. Find the fourth note in your scale and raise it a half step. In this case, we went from F to F sharp. Now, instead of a C major scale, we have a C Lydian mode. This one little note that we changed is called a characteristic tone, and it is entirely responsible for giving Lydian its unmistakable sound, that bright, spacious, little kind of surreal quality. To figure out what chords are available in the Lydian mode, all we have to do is follow the same add skip rule we would for any other scale. We start with a note, we skip the next note in scale, and we add the third. Skip the fourth, add the fifth. We do this again for the second note, add it, skip the next note, add the third note in line, skip the fourth note, add the fifth note in line. And if we repeat this, we get all the diatonic chords of the Lydian mode. Now remember that our characteristic tone, F sharp, is responsible for all of the personality in this scale, which means each of the chords that contain our characteristic note are called characteristic chords, and they carry the vast majority of the personality from your mode. These are the chords that make this special compared to a major scale. They become especially powerful when used directly before or after the tonic chord, or the first chord of your scale. For example, going from D major to C major creates a very strong Lydian sound. Super bright, super open, and very common in film music. John Williams in particular tends to use this mode quite frequently. So now that we understand the basics, let's see how we can use it for reharmonization. First, as usual, we're going to start with a very simple chord progression written in the key of C major. It goes C major, G major, A minor, F major, C major, D minor, G major, and C major again. Now let's see what kind of transformation we can have by applying the Lydian mode. Strategy number one is to end the whole thing with a modal cadence. A modal cadence is just any time you go from one of your characteristic chords to the tonic chord of your mode. So at the very ending here, we go from a G major to a C major. That's a very strong kind of traditionally major key strategy for ending chord progressions. If we replace this G major chord with one of our characteristic chords, for example, a D major, which contains our F sharp, this will instantly create a much brighter Lydian quality at the end of our chord progression. It won't sound as strong as the original one did, but it will have a much more unique personality. All right, so strategy number two is very, very similar. We're going to work with modal cadences again, but this time we're going to look for moments in the middle of our chord progression where we can throw it in. For example, in bar 5, we have another C major chord. So to create another modal cadence, all we have to do is replace the chord in bar 4 with any one of our characteristic chords. Easiest one, very obviously, take the F natural, turn it into an F sharp, and we get a nice F sharp diminished. Not everyone likes that sound though. So if you prefer, you are more than welcome to add in a B minor or a D major instead. As long as you have some kind of characteristic chord swapping in here that leads into your tonic, you should be good. Here, I decided to go with B minor just because I like the way it sounds. Finally, strategy number 3 is to just very simply look around for any opportunity to slip in a characteristic tone. For example, here in bar 6, we have an F natural. We could very easily turn this into an F sharp. And because I don't want to have two of the same chords, one right after the other, I'm going to change the second one that was originally part of our modal cadence into an F sharp diminished, just so we have a little more variation. As a reminder, you do not need to use all of these strategies. You can use as many or as few of them as you would like, and of course you can always switch things up on a case-by-case scenario. The point here isn't to tell you exactly what you should be doing every single time. It's just to provide a few more tools for your belt so that in the future you have some ideas of what you can do to create the kind of quality you want in your music. For now, let's listen to both progressions back to back. During the replay, I will highlight each of the chords that were changed so you can more easily track the shifts as they happen. Now, as fun as it can be to reharmonize an old idea, sometimes you just want to write something from scratch, right in the Lydian mode. And doing this is quite simple. All you need to do is find a pattern. Step 1 is to pick a chord to start your progression. Usually it's going to be the 1 chord of your scale. In this case, C major. Next, we are going to find our cadence. Since this is going to be an 8-bar progression, we're going to fill the last 2 bars with a modal cadence. So we're going to end on C major again. And let's just fill in that space with a D major. From here, you can finish the chord progression by filling out the empty space using any pattern you'd like. In the previous videos on modal reharmonization, we've talked about sentence structure, period structure, and absolute progressions. So today, let's try something a little bit different. Let's try moving by thirds while remaining in our key. If you want to learn more about this progress, check out the tutorial listed in the description of this video as well as in the corner of your screen right now. But for now, we're going to just create a pattern by going by thirds. Then a third up from C is E. A third up from E is G. Up from G is B. Up from B is D. Up from D is F, or in this case, F sharp. And from here, we are going to simply just fill out the chords. In C Lydian, we have E is an E minor. G becomes G major. B becomes B minor. D becomes D major. And F sharp becomes F sharp diminished. Our pattern gets interrupted by our cadence, and after a little bit of voice leading, we have our chord progression. And that's it. 3 simple strategies for turning boring major chord progressions into bright, magical Lydian ones. If you would like to go even deeper, check out my textbook, The Musical Storyteller, a 400-page guide to writing emotional and story-driven music. At the time this video comes out, I have a sale going on until the end of the week, where if you purchase a copy of the textbook, you get a free copy of my ebook, Harmonic Balance, a guide to balancing the modern orchestra. A huge thanks goes out to my patrons and channel members who make videos like this one possible. I appreciate you each more than you know. So until next time, my friends, keep studying, keep experimenting, and keep writing new music. I will see you in the next video.